In today's video, we're going to take a look at all the latest NHL news and rumors around the league. We've got several injury updates, including a major one in Chicago and several others around the league. Plus, we have a major milestone coming up for former first overall pick Erik Johnson. Plus, we're looking at the latest rumors around the league and talking about the Boston Bruins, the Buffalo Sabres, St. Louis Blues, and the Montreal Canadiens. Do they have some regrets over how they handled their goaltending last year? And could we see a guy like Cayden Primeau on the block now? We'll discuss all the latest coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of things to take a look at here today. First up, I want to talk about another major milestone in the NHL. Of course, we've seen a bunch of really important ones lately, and we have another one coming up for a long-time veteran defenseman, Erik Johnson, of course, who way back in the day here was a first overall pick. Long time ago, he's had a pretty solid career. I think it's fair to say with Johnson, and he's carved out a nice career. He's going to be playing game number 1,000 here this week coming up in a few days, and it's going to be against his former team, the Colorado Avalanche. Now, Johnson's played with a few different teams, of course, played with the Avalanche during their Stanley Cup run. Well-respected guy. Like I said, I think it's fair to say that Johnson was one of these guys that might have come in with a lot of fanfare and didn't quite live up to that hype, but he's still carved out a really nice, long, successful career. He's battled a lot of injuries over time as well, so to hit 1,000 games in his NHL career is certainly pretty remarkable considering the style of play and everything he's been through. So the fact that he's now with the Philadelphia Flyers and can have that big milestone honored when he's going to be playing his former team against the Avalanche, it just timed out nicely. Clearly, that's just a coincidence, but at the same time, it's a nice one. At least he can be around a lot of his close friends with the Avalanche to be a part of his special night. Lots of other injury updates around the NHL. The Penguins are dealing with a lot of, sounds like flu bug illnesses going through their room. Chris Letang was going to be out today, and I know Mike Sullivan made note that he just basically said the whole team was a game time decision, so wasn't really quite sure what to make of that. Clearly, like I said, lots of stuff going around, so we'll see. Obviously, at this point, by the time this video goes up is late. I'm not sure if there's been any other updates on the status of certain players in Pittsburgh, but certainly, they've had some rough games here as of late. Obviously, not where they want to be in the standings. Tons of rumors floating around about them, about the future of some of those guys there, and we'll have to see how they respond. In Carolina, of course, tonight they're playing the Ottawa Senators at home. Seth Jarvis was officially moved to injured reserve, so he will miss a minimum of 7 days. And of course, we already talked about Freddie Anderson going to be out for an extended time as well. So they've recalled goalie Yaniv Peretz to have some extra support here for Kochetkov. So obviously the Canes are dealing with some adversity lately with their team's health, and obviously they've had a really good start to the season, and they are going to look to continue to do that even though they're a little bit shorthanded. The Los Angeles Kings today have sent Andre Lee back to the American Hockey League after activating young forward Alex Turcotte, so he's back. The Seattle Kraken today also recalled Ben Myers, and in Chicago they've announced that Seth Jones is going to be out for what they feel is going to be an extended period of time. He's dealing with a right foot injury and is going to miss a long stretch. Aspen Jones has been out of the lineup. The Blackhawks have been a completely different team. He does munch a lot of minutes on that back end for them and is a pretty important piece there. So obviously the Blackhawks are, not like they're in danger of missing the playoffs or obviously low in the standings, still very early on in the team's rebuild, but with Jones and his leadership and experience not being present for an extended time will be a big miss there. And today in their game, of course, the Chicago's in Vancouver for Connor Bedard's first time playing in his hometown of Vancouver. I know he was saying he bought so many tickets for friends and family that he's basically he's basically not making any money tonight. He's certainly paying to play. So, obviously looking for a good result there. And Taylor Hall is getting the health bomb tonight. He's healthy scratch. The former first overall pick, who's certainly had a pretty good overall career, MVP of the league at one point in time as well. On a team like Chicago, you're getting health bombed. That's not good. Certainly getting Taylor Hall back this year after missing significant time last year was supposed to be a big bonus for them. But clearly Luke Richardson, head coach there, sending a message that he needs much more out of Hall. So I wonder what the future holds for him. I know there was some speculation even as recently as a week ago that things really weren't working out and wondering if they might look to move him to another team that's got playoff aspirations, but Problem is the Blackhawks have guys like Hall and Foligno and a few others that are grossly overpaid. They're only there to make sure that team gets to they're only getting paid what they are getting paid to make sure the team gets to the salary cap floor. And obviously, they have the space to allow a bigger salary for some of these guys. And it's kind of like you had to overpay to get them into that situation to go through the rebuild and be leaders for you, which is all fine and dandy. But when it's not working out, trying to trade that contract becomes very complicated. So we'll see where things go on that front. Hopefully Taylor Hall can get back in the lineup soon and get his game going, because he's supposed to be a leader there for them for sure. Now, the Boston Bruins. My lord, the Bruins are getting a lot of attention here. Obviously, they lost to the St. Louis Blues today in overtime, so they do pick up a point. They're still hovering over 500, but a lot of people are convinced something needs to change, and fast. This team is what a lot of people are playing very uninspired hockey. I don't know that it's completely fair to say that they've given up on Coach Jim Montgomery or that he's lost the room or lost their ear, but it just seems like it's taking, a lot to get, this kind of poor effort. It's not just about lack of execution. It's not about bad luck. It's not about getting the bounces. It's about overall just the team environment, the team leadership, that just everything that they used to have for so long. They could not miss a beat, because the leaders on that team wouldn't allow it. And I'm not putting this on like Brad Marchand or anything like that, but at this point, a lot of people are saying that, as much as they like Jim Montgomery and that he's a good coach, that they feel like he's probably going to have to go. The Bruins are going to be in tough. Now, there was even some talk from Jimmy Murphy, and it was a Boston beat writer, and Kevin Paul Dupont. I believe it was them talking on the podcast. Should they consider moving Jeremy Swayman? That's where things are at. They were actually having this conversation. Can you imagine what the city and the fans would react like? They just traded Linus Ullmark to be able to pay Swayman because he's a much younger goalie between the two. Obviously, big part of the team's future. That negotiation was long, drawn out. It definitely had an effect on this team. I don't think there's anything that we can deny there. I think it really had a big impact. And now he's signed. He's not getting the results. Obviously, Swayman it's not all on him by any means, but the stats just aren't there. Like, you rely on your all-star goaltender to bail you out when things aren't going right, or you make a mistake, and it's just not happening. A lot of things are going wrong in Boston, but the fact that you actually have some of the media there talking about, did they make a mistake signing Jeremy Swayman, and wondering, because if you look at a lot of the core players, they have long-term contracts. And besides Captain Brad Marchand, you've got Pasternak and McAvoy and all these long-term deals, and they have trade protection as well. So it's not like you really want to go out and move these kind of guys. These are cornerstone players, right, to some degree. But when you look at the players that you could trade that have good value, obviously Swayman's one of them. And because of his age, he doesn't have the trade protection in his contract yet. You have to be 27 years old or into your UFA years to get that. So he still doesn't have trade protection in his contract till 2026. So if they did want to trade him, they would not have to worry about anything being blocked. Now, would teams have a tough time taking that contract on? Yes, they would. But if they like the goaltender at the number and obviously move some money out, then it could work out. But the problem is, you just moved Ullmark. If you move Swayman, then what the heck do you have in goal? I think the Bruins would be ridiculously silly, to say the least, by moving him. Yes, you're maybe not completely thrilled with the contract in the first little couple months here. The numbers and the results aren't quite where they need to be, but I don't think that's how they go. I honestly think it's going to be a coaching change. Something has to give in Boston, and a lot of the media there feel it's just a matter of time. So we'll see. I know the Buffalo Sabres are another team to watch, and there was some speculation that the St. Louis Blues, who are also kind of frustrated and not where they want to be. The Sabres, of course, they've had their moments, right, where they've had good games, and they're kind of hovering in that playoff picture. They're kind of hovering around that 500 mark. They're it's too early to say the Sabres they're not going to be a playoff team. We can't say that yet. They're in the mix, but I think they were expecting a little bit better result, and they were trying to build on that consistency. It's no secret that we've heard from numerous insiders that the Sabres and Kevyn Adams are one of the more active teams out there on the market right now. And one name that they could be looking at is Brandon Saad out of St. Louis. Saad is a veteran forward who's had a lot of consistent success. You can usually bank on, at least 20, if not 25, closer to 30 goals. And he's a guy that's the St. Louis Blues at this point are probably open to moving. We talked about Jordan Binnington maybe getting there as well. Again, it wasn't a case of the Blues wanting to move Binnington, but there's people out there saying they really seriously think there's a possibility Binnington is going to get to the point soon where he may ask for a trade. But Saad in Buffalo does appear to have something to it, and doesn't mean I think Kevyn Adams is looking at a lot of options right now. It's really going to boil down to prices, so at the end of the day, we'll see, but that could be a fit there. And in Montreal, there's lots of people wondering if the Montreal Canadiens really messed up their goaltending. They had a three-headed goaltending monster last year with Jake Allen, Samuel Montembeault, and Caden Primo. They did not want to put Primo on waivers and send him to the minors because they knew that he was likely going to get claimed on waivers. Getting to the minors probably wasn't going to happen. Now, we've learned a lot about this situation since then. Jake Allen's playing really well with the Devils. And, obviously his numbers last year in Montreal weren't the greatest, but the team in front of him wasn't great either. Well, this season with Caden Primo not really working out, I think Montreal is kind of having some second thoughts. They're seeing Jake Allen play well with New Jersey. There's a lot of people saying that they really should have Montembeault with a veteran. Well, they had that before. They moved on from it. And then there was also some talk here as well on Montreal media recently from Max Truman. One of the recent podcast episodes was interviewing Montreal media member Tony Marinaro, of course, and they both tend to have pretty good sources. And they said in the offseason, the Montreal Canadiens, before they traded Jake Allen, that they actually had better trade offers to get a better return on Caden Primo. And you would suspect that with Primo being much younger, that shouldn't be shocking news. But Montreal chose to not take those better offers and to move Jake instead. Now, logically, I can understand why they would do that. And it's not like I don't think we can be too critical of them saying that they absolutely messed this up and they screwed it up and that they moved Jake when they shouldn't have, because really are most teams, especially when you're rebuilding, going to bet on a young goalie that you're still hoping will be the goalie of the future or to be a big part of your goaltending tandem for the future? You would think that to be the case, right? So I think most teams would have done what they ended up doing, but doesn't mean that it's always going to work out, and it doesn't mean you're not going to have regrets or buyer's remorse afterwards. So at the end of the day here, there's a lot of belief that Caden Primo might not have much of a future in Montreal. Now, Montembeault's numbers aren't beautiful either by any means. I just think that the team at this point has a lot more confidence in him. And if they have, a more solid veteran guy that he can learn from and have that be the tandem while they work on Jacob Fowler, obviously he's going to be developing in college. He's dominating the college scene right now. I think they have more hope and faith that he can become the goaltender of the future in a few years' time. So almost like they need to have Montembeault and a veteran be the placeholders while they're waiting for him. I think the confidence of Primo working out is really starting to evaporate. So at the end of the day, do they have regrets? Did they make a mistake? It looks that way. But like I said, I don't know that many other teams would have done anything different. It just has not worked out with the development of Caden Primo, and it wouldn't be shocking to see them maybe consider selling low if they have to in order to, or maybe even put him on waivers, who knows, in order to get room on the roster to find another veteran guy. It's just going to be tough to see what happens there. I just don't know that there's a lot of faith in Primo being the guy. Montembeault still seems to be confidence there, but let me know what you think in the Montreal goaltending increase and how they're going to handle things moving forward. At the start of the season they've had, there's still a lot of belief that there's going to be some kind of changes here coming soon. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.